Today I'm in a region of St. Petersburg where visitors don't usually come. Let's check it out. I should say this region is not some micro-region tucked away out the back of the city. You know, this is right pretty central. It's just across the river from the very city centre. So you might wonder why I said nobody comes here. Well, that's based on three things. Firstly, I've been to St. Petersburg many times and I've never been here before. Secondly, there doesn't seem to be any of the typical sights of the city in this region. And thirdly, the region doesn't have any metro stations. So it's quite inaccessible, even though it's relatively central. Just there is a market. So it says quite clearly 1936. I guess that's the style of the markets in the 1930s. I'm quite sure inside won't be anything interesting, but we could just pop in anyway. Yeah, just as I thought, it's a pretty standard market really. The area certainly has a number of green spaces. It seems we've got to a bit of a housing massive. Look at these almost identical looking blocks. I mean, there's more than 10 of them all in a cluster here, and right behind a row of newbies as well. So just in case there's any geography nerds out there, the area I'm in today is it's called Red Guard region. Mostly, where I was at the beginning is Kalinin region, but it's mostly Red Guard region. Now it's a huge region that goes from just the other side of the city centre from the river all the way up to the end of the city, the ring road that is the boundary of the city. I'm only going to be covering a very, very small part of the region. Now, some of you may remember, I know a little bit about Soviet cinemas and cinema. I made a video on both those subjects. Now, the building behind me, it was once a cinema. Now, there was actually 14 of these such buildings built just across St. Petersburg. Now, unfortunately, to my knowledge, none of them remain as cinemas. Most of the buildings are still standing. It's just that they're things like shopping centres or fitness centres or other entertainment centres these days. So the main hall is now a supermarket, surprise, surprise. But you can see there, the railing there, that I guess suggests this used to be a two-level cinema. So that must be where the cinema screen used to be. So my goodness, this region might not have its own metro station, but it more than makes up for it in green spaces. Well, this time of year, white spaces. That's kind of cool as well. Look at the roof. Now, although not having a metro station anywhere nearby is probably inconvenient for a lot of people, especially those that need to commute to other parts of the city, if you don't need to commute, then actually I think living in this region has got some advantages. I'm pretty sure that because there's no metro, property prices and rents will be lower. And like I say, there does seem to be a lot of green space. It does seem more relaxed here. No crowds, certainly no tourist crowds, or any other crowds for that matter. It's quite nice, quite like it here actually. Using public transport to check out these huge regions is always a good idea. So like I said, the centre of the city is just the other side of the river, just there. You've got the Smolny Cathedral, and next to it, the Smolny Institute, which is where Lenin organised the revolution. However, we're staying this side, and for good reason as well, because just up ahead is what must surely be the region's best example of Soviet modernism, and socialist housing. Now from the other side of the river, it looks like this really long building or collection of buildings is right on the embankment. You can see quite clearly it's a good 100 metres away from the water. Also you can see it's raised a good few metres from the road level. The balcony's kind of cool as well. This building or this ensemble, I'm not quite sure what it is yet. It did come to my attention when I was looking into the long buildings video that I made a few weeks ago, but I didn't include it even though it's really long, because I already included that other sort of Maradona building and I didn't want two controversial buildings, but this one, my goodness, in total it's about 700 metres. Now this is where things get interesting, because if you count this sort of whole lower plinth area, you could almost claim that it's all one long building, but that's pushing it a bit, I know. You see, it's these sections, two of them in between the buildings, that's what makes it interesting, I think. So if you're not prepared to accept the lower part as part of the building, which is fair enough, well then we're looking at an ensemble then, aren't we? I think these things here are for putting plants in the summer. Like I say, I think, I've got no idea for sure, I just can't think what else there'd be for. There's 3 of the longer blocks and then 2 of the taller ones in the middle. If you're wondering why this ensemble is a little bit different from other ones, it's because unlike most, it wasn't built by the state. It was built by a cooperative in the late 1960s. This is the inner side, and you've got blocks this side as well. They're not quite as long. Also, unlike most of the blocks at the time, which were panel blocks, this was made with brick. Okay then friends, I think we're good for today. Bye for now.